Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
Covering Wake County this morning on the south side of the Beltline, a huge slowdown because of a crash. I'll let you know how much this could delay your morning commute.
And a tree is blocking Leesville Road near Briar Creek and bringing a phone line down with it. The work being done to open the road back to traffic.
And part of that was because of all the heavy rain that we saw overnight last night. That has tapered off, but we still have some lingering issues. I'll show you where there's still some ongoing flooding.
Plus, a brand new stretch of NC 540 is now open, and we've even seen a wrong-way driver already this morning. We'll talk about how this new road could help ease the morning traffic in Wake County. Thanks so much for waking up this morning here with us on WRAL News on Fox 50. I am Chris Lovingood. We want to get right over to meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner. She is tracking the situation regarding your forecast because it was loud last night, a little quieter this morning.
It was. We saw a lot of rain in some places, 3 to 5 inches overnight last night. But you can see here on the radar, everything has really quieted down. We're still dealing with some lingering issues. We had a few isolated showers pop up along and east of I-95, but even those are starting to dissipate. Those lasted a couple of hours. Let's take a look at what's happening in Person County. Flash flood warning until 9 a.m. here in Roxborough. We are still looking at some flooding around Madison Street there in Roxborough, and in Person County, schools are on a 2-hour delay because of that flooding. You can see here how the flooding played out this morning. Stephen Myers sent us this photo, and that's there on Madison Street. So there's still some lingering water. Just be careful. We'll likely have some more isolated showers and thunderstorms pop up after lunchtime today. There may be a few holes in the clouds that help to destabilize the atmosphere, a little bit of sunshine. It's not likely to be as widespread or as heavy as we saw overnight, but it may be just inconvenient. Taking a look at North Hills, lots of low-hanging clouds. It's warm, it's moist. We just got the 8 a.m. advisory in from Tropical Storm Helene. Not quite a hurricane. Winds at 70, 74 miles per hour would make it a hurricane. It is likely to become a hurricane later on, maybe by the 11 o'clock advisory, becoming Cat 3 before it makes landfall here in the Big Bend of Florida, and then moving northward and then westward away from North Carolina. The mountains are likely get hit hard, but it looks like we could see smaller amounts of rainfall here. I'll show you coming up. Ken?
8:02, Elizabeth. We continue to follow that breaking news on the south side of the Beltline this morning because of a crash near Lake Wheeler Road. We also just got reports of another crash near Gorman Street in those westbound lanes of I-40 this morning. This is what it looks like. You can see the westbound lanes coming toward us this morning, courtesy of our camera at I-40 and Rock Quarry Road. This is what it looks like on our sensors this morning. You can see the belt stretching all the way back to the I-40, 440 interchange this morning. I just checked the sensors. You're looking at maybe a 15 to 20-minute delay if you take that side of the Beltline. If you're coming in from Garner or Johnston County, I would take the north side of the Beltline just to be on the safe side. It's another crash that's blocking the one lane of New Bern Avenue this morning. This is right around New Hope Road. You can see the huge backup it's causing there on New Hope Road. Skycrest is an optionate route for you in terms of getting around the backup you're seeing on New Hope Road. Fortunately, this crash that we've been following here in the Roseville area has cleared, but you can still see the lingering delay here on Lewisburg Road, Mitchell Mill Road, Burlington Mills Road over to US 1 might be options, but those roads are seeing some congestion as well. Of course, you can always listen to us at 101.5 HD3 anywhere in the Triangle.
Breaking news this morning, several roads across Wake County were flooded because of last night's storms, including Holly Springs, New Hill Road near Apex. We've got WRAL's Nick Perlin there live right now. Nick, some cars even got stuck in floodwaters.
Chris, that's right. There was 2 cars, to be exact, that were stuck in the road here. And I'll tell you, this road looked like a river, and that's why it's blocked off. Let's show you what this all looked like here. And just take a look at all that water here. It's completely flooded. Again, you see those 2 SUVs there stuck in the water. Now, Wake County Sheriff's deputies did tell me that there were people inside those cars, and they were able to get them out safely, so nobody was hurt. But this road has been closed for a good part of this morning. And I got to tell you, it looks like it'll be a while before they start to reopen it because, again, you can see those cars are stuck there in the water. There's just so much water that because of how much it rained last night. So we'll keep you updated on when we'll see Holly Springs New Hill Road reopened. We'll monitor any further delays that this could cause for your morning commute. Reporting live in Apex, Nick Perlin, WRAL News.
And Jeff, over to the WRAL Live Center, we've also been reporting about that flooding in Person County, Roxborough specifically. Got a couple of pictures here from Chief David Hess, police chief up there in Roxborough. Take a look at this one. As you see right here, that car just completely submerged there. This is US 501, okay, so a main stretch headed into this, a little wider shot right there, main stretch headed into Roxborough. That is closed right now, having some trouble getting in and out. So that closes off some major sections there. Also, we've been looking at these cameras, these live cameras from different resorts. This is Cancun. We've been seeing this in the dark. Now that it's daylight, we can see how the trees are blowing around there a little bit, and this camera gives you the view of some waves rolling in. Both of those Cancun, but also I have a chance to take you. I want to get you out to a live picture right now. This is a chopper flying the coastline in Tampa. So we've seen the localized flooding. We've seen where that hurricane is right now. That storm is over Cancun and where it's headed, right to Florida as they get ready for the hit.
Jeff, thank you. Breaking news this morning in the Briar Creek area. Teams are working to clear a large tree that is blocking part of Leesville Road. Let's go to WRAL's Kelsey Coffey. She's there right now. Kelsey, this happened during the storms that passed through overnight, but I can see there's a team right there getting ready to move it.
Chris, in the last 30 minutes, power crews have arrived here trying to work on this situation. So I talked before about a phone line being impacted, but it seems like power lines have been impacted too. So this tree is fallen and it's taken up the entire street here. We'll pan up a little bit so you can see the phone line that it's taken down. Now, I've talked to a deputy that was here, and she says that the phone company crew may not arrive until about 2 hours from now. So this entire situation may not be cleaned up until a few more hours from now. We'll also try to zoom in a little bit further down the road here so you can see these cones that are blocking off the street. So this is Leesville Road between Crescent, Iris Place, and Ashcliff Lane. All of this area is blocked off, and deputies are asking people to please stay out of this area. We've seen drivers ignoring those cones and still trying to drive through. So if this is a part of your morning commute, please try to avoid it if you can. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Durham.
In the last 2 hours, a new highway is open for your morning commute. The first phase of the Complete 540 project opened at 6 a.m. and this connects NC 55 and I-40 in southern Wake County. WRAL's Laura Levine joins us live from the newly opened stretch. And Garner and Laura, you actually saw a wrong-way driver already this morning.
Hey, Chris, good morning. Yes, it's been a pretty interesting morning. Right now, we're standing behind the toll gantry here on this new stretch of NC 540. You can see we have crews with the traffic control devices making sure the toll cameras are working at this point. But as we were out here reporting and shooting video of the traffic moving along this new stretch, this is when photojournalist Charles Bradley, take a look, he noticed a driver traveling west in the eastbound lanes. You can see that driver had their hazard lights on. They were driving at a slow pace. However, they were just driving in the wrong direction. So I did call 911 and Highway Patrol to get someone out here and hopefully make sure that that person is okay and that no one was harmed, because, you know, we have traffic flowing here going 70 miles per hour in these lanes. So as we know, phase one here extends the Triangle Expressway approximately 18 miles from the existing corridor at NC 55 to I-40 and US 70, which is the future I-42. With more than 10,000 drivers expected to use this route per day, the NC Turnpike Authority says this will help alleviate congestion in the area. That's really welcome news for drivers and companies that transport truckloads of supplies each and every day.
We're going to save a lot of time, and for me, time is money. We deliver to all of our crews in the field. So having central transportation and quick means our crews are waiting less time to get their materials.
Absolutely. So again, phase one here opened at 6 o'clock this morning. Now the DOT will work and move their focus to phase two, which is a 10-mile stretch from I-40 to I-87 to complete the 540 loop. Construction on that will begin next year. Laura Levine, WRAL News. We're live in Garner.
Our northern communities are feeling the effects of last night's storms. Person County schools will be on a 2-hour delay today because of localized flooding. That's for all schools, staff, and students. Right now, people on Florida's Gulf Coast are preparing for the arrival of Helene. The storm could intensify into a major hurricane before it makes landfall, and that is expected to happen tomorrow. 61 of Florida's 67 counties are under a state of emergency. A storm surge of up to 15 feet is possible in Florida's Big Bend area. That's where Helene is currently projected to come ashore. Evacuations are happening right now. The Florida National Guard has been activated ahead of the storm's arrival. More than 18,000 linemen are ready to respond to any storm-related power outages. New this morning, we have learned 3 people died and a child has life-threatening injuries after a crash on NC 86 in Orange County. We want to show you this photo from the Orange County Sheriff's Office. They shared it online. The crash happened just before 5 o'clock yesterday near Coleman Loop Road. Troopers say the driver crossed the center line and went off the road before hitting a tree. The driver died along with 2 passengers, Aisha Edwards and Anthony Bowman. A child who was in the car survived and was taken to Duke University Hospital with serious injuries. Investigators are working to learn what caused this crash. And a Holly Springs man is charged with kidnapping and raping a 3-year-old girl. This happened in 2018 when he was 15 at the time, according to investigators. The Wake County Sheriff's Office arrested now 22-year-old Christian DeLabio Hill, who you saw there, on Monday. He's in the Wake County Detention Center. Your time is 8:10. Both presidential campaigns have stops planned in North Carolina today. Former President Donald Trump is expected to speak at a campaign event in Mint Hill. That's east of Charlotte, if you're familiar. Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff plans to attend a campaign event in Wilmington, and WRAL will cover all the campaign visits now through Election Day. Just ahead, 2 people are dead after Hurricane John slammed into Mexico's southern coast. What forecasters are saying is now the concern for the days ahead.
And we had some heavy rain overnight last night. That is all dissipated, but we could see more rain later today. I'll show you the timeline.
Oh, this caught me by surprise. White Lake there's some sunshine there. I don't know why. I thought we were going to see a lot more overcast, but that's a beautiful surprise as you're waking up this morning. Watching WRAL News, we've got Elizabeth Gardner, who may have a little surprise for you right there in the dual Doppler.
Yeah, we have seen most of the rain taper off now, and I would not be surprised if we saw a few breaks in the clouds, especially from the triangle area south and east, a little closer to lunchtime. But when we do, we're going to see all of that sun's energy helping to create the potential for more scattered thunderstorms. We did have a lot of heavy rain overnight last night, so we continue to have the potential for some flash flooding here in Roxborough, especially along Madison Street right there. And the flood warning is in effect until 9 o'clock. Here's a picture of that flooding there on Madison Street in Roxborough. Stephen Myers sent us this in. Thanks for sending us that. So there may still be some ongoing problems. I know Person County schools were on a 2-hour delay because of all that flooding. Lots of rain overnight last night. Fuquay-Varina saw almost 4 inches, a little over 3 in Efland, a little under 2.5 in Warrenton, about 2 1/4 in Wake Forest, and then Smithfield and Sanford both at close to 1 1/4 inches, 1 3/4 inches. A lot of rain out there. We have a cold front that's back to the west, but sort of a stationary boundary that helped to produce all the rain that we saw yesterday. Checking out Futurecast, we'll pause it here. This is lunchtime. Look at that. Kind of a hole in the clouds right there, south and east of the triangle. But as we see that, that's going to add energy to the atmosphere, and we'll see more showers and storms developing. Now, this is not going to be a situation like last night where we had a lot of heavy rain and thunder and lightning. These are just going to be mainly isolated cells that pop up, and they may produce some brief heavy rain. And we'll likely see the potential for more rain tomorrow. We'll likely start in the morning with dry conditions. There's 5 o'clock, but by 8 or 9 o'clock, we start to see some rain. And this is going to be kind of right ahead of Helene as it starts to send some rain our way on Thursday, especially from the triangle area westward. Overnight, it becomes a little bit heavier. And then, of course, Friday, it picks up even more. And Friday will have the potential for a few isolated tornadoes. We may start to see some dry air moving in the afternoon, and that could shut off the precipitation maybe as early as mid to late afternoon on Friday. We do have a low risk for flooding for most of our viewing area and a level 1 risk for severe storms because of that potential for some isolated tornadoes. Definitely hardest hit will be the mountains. Every time these models come out, it looks like more and more rain for the mountains. And boy, these gorges, these valleys along these rivers, this is going to be devastating. There's going to be a lot of damage to the mountains of North Carolina, especially the southern mountains with this much rainfall. And look at that, 50 to 60 mile per hour winds on top of that. For us, we'll likely see around 30 mile per hour wind gusts as we get through the day on Friday, and we may have some isolated totals that are a little heavier than that. It is still a tropical storm, but very close to becoming a hurricane. That's likely to happen later today. It's Category 3 as it makes landfall here along the Florida Gulf Coast and then moving northward and then westward over toward Tennessee. And that's diminishing the amount of rain that we'll see. We'll likely see about 1 to 3 inches. You can see the storm making landfall, lots of rain out ahead of it, but then it swings very quickly over here to the west, and that will decrease the amount of rain that we'll end up seeing. Checking our forecast. On Friday, we have the Bluegrass Festival. It is likely to be wet for the first half of the day, but we might see some improving conditions late afternoon into the evening. Saturday looks like the driest day of the week at 20% chance of rain. We're back up to just around a 30% chance on Sunday. Ken?
Elizabeth, the southern loop of the Beltline continues to be a trouble spot this morning because of a crash near Lake Wheeler Road. We also just got word that there's an incident on Hammond Road exit as well as the Gorman Street exit, and you can see the huge delays that it's causing right there. This is what it looks like. Courtesy of our cameras at I-40 and Rock Quarry Road. You can see the westbound lane, just a slow parking lot, really. This is what it looks like on our sensors. We just checked the sensors. You're looking at a 15-minute delay in that south side of the Beltline. If you're coming in from Garner or Johnston County, I would use the north side of the Beltline if you have to get over to the west side again. This is a crash that just cleared. It just cleared in the last 30 seconds or so on I-85 northbound. It's not causing any problems there in I-85, but you can see the huge slowdown that we're seeing on those eastbound lanes of I-40 this morning. So if you have somebody coming in on business or coming to visit and they're I-40 east, tell them to take the 85 connector or just take the nearest exit, get over to Highway 70 as an alternate route into the capital city.
Thank you, Ken. Protesters marched through the streets of downtown Raleigh demanding an end to the Israel-Hamas war. The protesters want Israel to end its fight in Gaza. These are protesters who have made their voices heard for nearly a year now. We're approaching the 1-year mark since Hamas attacked Israel.
We have been fighting every week, almost every week in the streets for 1 year, and it's imperative that we continue to do that. And even though we felt burnout and exhaustion and grief and denial, we are still showing up no matter what.
Palestinian protesters planned a statewide march on October 5th, 2 days before the 1-year anniversary of the war's beginning. And coming up in about 30 minutes, we are going to hear from Aviva Siegel. She is married to a man from Chapel Hill, and both were kidnapped by Hamas. You will hear the message that she has for American and Israeli officials in hopes of the safe release of her husband and other hostages. Your time is 8:20 this morning. Police are investigating shots fired at a Harris Walls campaign office in Arizona. Officers were called to the Tempe office Monday afternoon. Workers say when they arrived, they found damage from what appeared to be gunshots. You can see what looks like a bullet hole in the front window. Now, no one was hurt, according to authorities. Police say just last week, the front windows of the same office were shot with what appeared to be a BB or a pellet gun. Intelligence officials say there are specific threats coming from Iran plotting to assassinate former President Donald Trump. A spokesperson for the Director of National Intelligence confirmed Trump was briefed about the threats yesterday. The spokesperson says that the threats are an effort to create chaos in the U.S. Iranian officials have not commented about the reported threats. Hurricane John quickly fell apart over Mexico yesterday, but not before causing destruction along the country's southern Pacific coast here. The storm made landfall late Monday near Acapulco as a Category 3 hurricane. Authorities say 2 people died when a mudslide crashed into their home. A 70-year-old woman also died when a landslide hit her home. Forecasters say the concern now is the risk of flash flooding in the coming days. The Justice Department is suing Visa over its position in the debit card market. The DOJ says Visa is forcing businesses to use their network instead of competitor networks. They argue this stops new options from entering the market. The complaint says more than 60% of debit transactions in the country take place on Visa's debit network. The department says those transactions, Visa is able to charge more than $7 billion in processing fees, but Visa has not commented on this lawsuit. Petco says it will no longer sell rabbits in stores. The company is instead encouraging adoptions from other places. Petco says the decision was in response to feedback received from animal rescue and welfare organizations. A rabbit advocacy organization called out the company this month, saying that selling rabbits in stores leads to impulse buys. Petco is offering 20% savings for customers who adopt a rabbit from any established rescue or adoption group. Today, the North Carolina Education Lottery commissioners meet after a new report shows a record-breaking year for sales. The lottery sold nearly $5.5 billion worth of tickets this fiscal year. That tops the previous year's record by more than $1 billion. The gains came from digital instants. Those are those slot-like lottery games played on an electronic device. They launched in November. A special father-son moment for the Carolina Hurricanes. Look at this right here. That's head coach Rod Brindamore and his son, Skyler. Skyler suited up for the Canes last night in their first preseason game in Tampa Bay. The Canes signed him to a professional tryout deal after he played with the Charlotte Checkers last season. The Canes won the game 2-1, and they'll be back at the Lenovo Center on Friday for a preseason game against Florida. Time is 8:23. A brand new stretch of 540 is open just in time for your morning commute. We'll let you take out the latest steps in the plan to complete 540.
As you get into your car, tune to WRAL News Plus on your radio. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM. In Durham, 96.5 FM. And everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
Good morning. Your time is 8:26. I'm Chris Lovingood. We have got to get to Ken Smith right now. You're tracking something in the traffic center there.
Yeah, the south side of the Beltline has been a real trouble spot for us this morning, for commuters, I should say. Right now, it's because of a crash that happened on Lake Wheeler Road, and then another crash that happened on near south side of the street. You're seeing the backup that it's causing right now. This is what it looks like at I-40 and Rock Quarry Road. That backup stretches all the way back to the I-40, 440 interchange there. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, I'll have an update in terms of how much this could delay your morning commute.
Fortunately, we've seen a lot of the rain taper off, so things are looking pretty quiet on the radar. Just a little tiny shower there in the eastern part of Johnston County. Otherwise, we're still watching that flooding potential here in Roxborough. Flash flood warning lasts until 9 o'clock, so we've got another 30 minutes on that. There were some streets flooded in Roxborough, so just be careful there. Take a live look at North Hills. Lots of low cloud cover holding here. 73 degrees right now, so it's a warm, muggy start. And this afternoon, we may see a few more pop-up thunderstorms. Temperatures, of course, will climb into the low 80s, and we'll see about a 40% chance for rain.
A new route for your morning commute is now open after years of construction. The new extension of the NC 540 toll road between NC 55 and Apex and I-40 and Garner opened at 6 a.m. The North Carolina Turnpike Authority expects 10,000 cars to travel the 18-mile highway every single day. The father of the Raleigh mass shooting suspect is due in court this morning. Alan Thompson is facing a misdemeanor charge for storing a firearm in a manner accessible to a minor. His son, Austin Thompson, is facing a long list of charges connected to the 2022 Raleigh mass shooting in the Hedingham neighborhood. Next on Fox 50, last night's storms brought down a tree over a road in the Briar Creek area. We'll bring you more to that in just a bit.
Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
Covering Wake County this morning, this backup that on I-40 westbound and the southern side of the Beltline as a result of a crash, causing quite a bit of delay. I'll let you know how much this could delay your morning commute.
And a tree is blocking part of Leesville Road in the Briar Creek area. What you're seeing right now is a live look as a team is underway right now on the scene trying to remove that tree and fix those power lines brought down.
Likely related to all the heavy rain we saw overnight last night. We have flooding that is ongoing in Person County where schools are closed for the day. I'll show you how much we've seen and how much more we will see.
And a brand new route to work for thousands of commuters. It's now open. How the newest stretch of NC 540 will help ease congestion on the roads. And even this morning, we already saw someone driving the wrong direction. Thanks for joining us here in WRAL News on Fox 50. I'm Chris Lovingood. We do want to get your day started off right with meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner. She is tracking your weather forecast for the day, much quieter than overnight.
Yeah, things have really quieted down now. We're not looking at any rain really. A little tiny shower there in the eastern part of Johnston County. Otherwise, we are pretty much rain-free. A lot of cloud cover out there. And of course, some lingering impact from all the rain that we saw overnight last night. We still have a flash flood warning for parts of Person County, including Roxborough, where Madison County has been closed. Madison Street has been closed because of all the flooding, and Person County schools are closed for the day because of this. The warning continues until 9 o'clock, but they've extended it at least once, and so we'll continue to watch that warning. But just be careful around Roxborough. This is a photo Stephen Myers sent us. Thank you for sending us that. You can see that car almost completely submerged there on Madison Street in Roxborough. Here's a look at what downtown Roxborough looks like right now. It does look like they're beginning beginning to dry out a little bit. This is not one of the areas that did flood, however, so just down the street, it may look a little different. As we get through the afternoon, we'll likely have more showers and thunderstorms developing. Possibly a little break in the clouds could help to energize the atmosphere later this afternoon and produce just some isolated cells. Some of those could produce some brief heavy rain, but just going to continue to see this unsettled pattern today and certainly tomorrow and Friday as well. This afternoon and evening, we bounce it back up to around a 40% chance of rain. Helene still holding on to tropical storm strength, almost a hurricane with winds at 70 miles per hour. Storm likely to become a hurricane at some point today, then Category 2 overnight, Category 3 tomorrow as it makes landfall here in Florida and then makes that left turn. It's shifting a little bit farther away from central North Carolina. That means that our potential for rain has gone down slightly, but I'll show you what we will see here coming up. Ken?
Happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center, we continue to follow the situation on the south side of the Beltline. We're talking about a situation that involves a crash at South Saunders near Street, and you can see the huge backup it's causing there on the south side of the Beltline around Hammond Road, Rock Quarry Road, and the like. Let's take you outside and show you exactly what this looks like in terms of the live traffic map, this traffic sensors this morning. You can see this is I-40 and Rock Quarry Road. The westbound lanes are moving away from us. It's beginning to move a little better than it was about a half hour ago, but still you can see the congestion that it's causing there. This is what it looks like on our sensors all the way back to I-40 and 440 this morning. You're coming in from Garner or Johnston County. I would take the north side of the Beltline, even though you're seeing a bit of a slowdown. But in the south side, you're looking at maybe a 15 to 20 minute delay. So keep that in mind as you're making a decision as to what you want to do. A couple of things we also want to tell you about. There's a crash on Glenwood Avenue near Roanoke Park Drive. You can see some congestion there on Wade Avenue proper, not necessarily related to that crash. So keep that in mind if Wade Avenue is part of your morning commute, which I know it is for many of you. Over in the Orange County area, this crash on 85 North near the I-40 interchange not causing any problems, but you can see the huge congestion we're seeing on the eastbound lanes of I-40 this morning. If you have somebody coming in on I-40 East, tell them to hop over to 70 as an alternate route. We do have some other situations going on in the southern part of Wake County. That's where we find Nick Pearl in the WRAL Breaking News Tracker. Nick, you got a road closure down there.
Ken, that's right. This is on Holly Springs New Hill Road near Apex, and obviously this road is closed, like you said, but let's show you why. This is pretty extraordinary video from the WRAL Breaking News Tracker. You can see here 2 SUVs completely stuck in this water here. You can see this road turning into a river because of the heavy rain that we got last night, and I've seen for the hour that I've been here several cars driving by and needing to turn around because of this major flooding. At this point in time, we're still working to find out when Holly Springs New Hill Road will be opened here. So we're still monitoring that very closely. I can tell you, though, all the people inside those cars did make it out okay, so nobody injured. But we're going to monitor how this will affect your commute the entire morning. Live in Apex, Nick Pearl, WRAL News.
Yeah, Nick, that'd be one way to get over to Apex Friendship High School, very close to there. Buses aren't going to get through there. They'll have to go around. Also, buses not able to get through some places in Person County. So Person County schools are closed. You know, this is about go time for that 2-hour delay when folks start getting up and getting moving that we've been reporting. Now, due to the roads being closed and all that flooding, school is closed. Person County closed for the day today. And these are some of the roads right there because Elizabeth was talking just a little bit ago about Madison Boulevard. And these are what Police Chief David Hess has sent us. This is a wide look at that Madison Boulevard. The thing is, this is US 501. So Madison Boulevard is 501, major thoroughfare getting into Roxborough, and a bunch of side streets around there also are blocked off. So that is a major stoppage, a major reason why Person County schools are closed today.
Jeff, thank you. Developing this morning in Durham County, teams are working to clear a large tree that's down across Leesville Road. That's near the Briar Creek area. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey is there right now. Kelsey, crews are working to clean up that tree in the road.
Chris, in the last hour, we have seen some crews arrive here to work on cleanup, so that's why you can hear the really loud chainsaw here behind me. But I'll step out the way so you can see how this tree fell in the middle of the street. This is Leesville Road, right at the intersection of Leesville and Ashcliff Lane. And crews have crested Iris Place to Ashcliff Lane blocked off here in Durham. So that tree has fallen and it's hit a power line, and it looks like a phone line as well. So we're working to get an update on a timeline for when this area can reopen. Just as far as traffic impacts, those couple of roads that I mentioned are closed, and deputies here in Durham are really encouraging people to make sure that if they see cones on this street, to not drive through those cones, instead just turn around and find an alternate route. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Durham.
Happening now, morning commuters are on a new highway in Wake County for the first time. The 18-mile first phase of the Complete 540 project just opened at 6 a.m. This connects NC 55 and I-40 in the southern part of the county. Let's bring in WRAL's Laura Levine. She is live there right now along the stretch in Garner. And Laura, this morning you actually saw someone driving the wrong direction.
Yeah, Chris, this morning already seeing some confusion with drivers out here. Right now, we're standing right at the toll gantry here. You can see crews working to make sure that the cameras are up and running. However, as my photographer, Charles Bradley, was getting some video of the new stretch of this highway, he noticed a driver heading in the wrong direction. Take a look. This driver was traveling west in the eastbound lanes. You can see they have their hazard lights on, driving at a slow pace, but they were in the fast lane, as you can also see vehicles passing that car by. So as he was filming, I called 911 and Highway Patrol just to make sure that no one is put in danger. But we know when it comes to this new stretch of highway, it's years in the making. We're talking since 2019 when they began construction. Now, phase 1 extends the Triangle Expressway approximately 18 miles from the existing corridor at NC 55 to I-40 and US 70. That's the future I-42. A spokesperson with the NC Turnpike Authority says this will help alleviate congestion in the area.
It's just going to be such a traffic relief and allow so much more maneuverability for people, even if you don't use it every day. If you're late for an appointment or you have to pick up your child at daycare, you have an option now.
And with phase 1 complete, the DOT will now shift the focus to phase 2, which is a 10-mile stretch from I-40 to I-87 to complete the 540 loop. Construction on that will begin early 2025. Laura Levine, WRAL News, we're live in Garner.
Right now, people in Florida are preparing for Helene. The storm could intensify into a major hurricane before it makes landfall, and that is expected to happen tomorrow. People in Cancun, Mexico are already getting ready for the storm's arrival, that is. They spent Tuesday boarding up windows in preparation for strong winds and heavy rainfall. They're already feeling the effects today. In Florida, a storm surge of up to 15 feet is possible in the Big Bend area. That's where Helene is currently projected to come ashore. It could be a Category 3 hurricane when that happens. Evacuations are underway. More than 18,000 linemen are ready to respond to any storm-related power outages. Crews from North Carolina are headed to Florida to help ahead of Helene's arrival. Utility workers with the City of Rocky Mount's Energy Resources Division are heading down to Tallahassee. Now, once the storm hits, teams will survey areas and help restore power for customers. The father of the Raleigh mass shooting suspect is due in a Wake County courtroom this morning. Alan Thompson is facing a misdemeanor charge for storing a firearm in a manner accessible to a minor. His son, Austin Thompson, is facing a long list of charges, including 5 counts of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. Austin was 15 at the time of the shooting in Headingham's neighborhood back in October 2022. It's unclear what will happen at this disposition hearing. WRAL will have a crew inside, and we will bring you live updates right here and on WRAL.com. A garbage truck driver has minor injuries after his truck skidded off the road, flipped over, and landed in Johnston County. This crash happened around 7 last night on Medlin Road near Archer Lodge. The WRAL Breaking News Tracker was there shortly after the crash. The driver says he was trying to avoid traffic during a heavy rainstorm. Well, that's when the tire on the front passenger side went off the pavement. The truck went down a steep embankment and then tipped over. Garbage was dumped into a field as a result. The driver was cited for a lane control violation. You may soon have trouble finding your favorite fruit when you go grocery shopping. The potential strike that could lead to a fruit shortage at your local grocery store. Let's get you a live look this morning at the North Hills. Helene's impacts will be felt here Friday. Up next, meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner will walk you through the timing and the potential threats from that storm. All right, we're going to go right now to meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner. You're tracking the start of People's Wednesday. Pretty quiet compared to midnight.
You know, yeah, midnight, I woke up, lightning, thunder, it was loud, the rain was pouring across the triangle, and then it lifted northward, and it's out of our viewing area with one small exception, a little teeny shower near Goldsboro, and then just across the line over into Johnston County. Other than that, it's finished. But in its wake, we're still dealing with some problems. Person County schools are closed today because of the flooding that's happened around Roxbury. You can see the flash flood warning. It extends until 9 a.m., but it doesn't look like we've seen much receding of the water. It's mainly been around Madison Street there in Roxborough. But take a look at how much rain we saw. We saw at least 4 to 5 inches of rainfall in those yellow shaded areas, around 3 to 4 in the red shaded areas. So really all of the northern counties in our viewing area saw some very heavy rain. And then the southern part of Wake County saw as much as 4 to 5 inches of rain as well. And then widespread, it was maybe 1 to 2 inches. So a lot of rainfall with that. We take a look at Roxborough, and this is downtown in front of the courthouse, and you can see it's starting to dry out a little bit there, but it's not right here where the flooding happened. It was actually down 501. Jeff was just talking about it in the live center just a few minutes ago, and so still some problems happening there. Later on this afternoon, we may end up with a few breaks in the clouds, especially south and east of the triangle, but if we add some sunshine to the mix, the very moist air mass, we are likely to have more showers and storms develop. Not likely to be a repeat of last night, but we will have some cells that could produce some brief heavy rain. They're going to be moving through pretty quickly. We have a lingering boundary that's over us that's helping to produce that, along with a cold front back to the west that keeps pushing in our direction. So looking at a 40% chance of rain later on this afternoon and evening, 50% tomorrow, 100% for Friday. And a lot of that rain is going to start for us late Thursday and continue over Thursday night in advance of Helene, which is still a tropical storm with winds at 70 miles per hour, still likely to become a hurricane later on today. A Cat 3 before it makes landfall there in the Big Bend of Florida, where they could see 10 to 15 feet of storm surge. It moves northward, producing a lot of heavy rain. For us, we're looking at slightly lighter amounts because it looks like it's going to jog to the west just a little bit. But for the mountains, it looks like we could see some devastating flooding. Meteorologist Chris Michael is here to talk about why it looks so bad for the mountains.
It all has to do with that storm position, right? It's that weird jog to the west that's really going to make the mountains the worst place to be, whereas you usually expect it to be the coast, right? But there's the center of Helene by Friday morning, and it's right near Chattanooga, Asheville, and areas like Swain County. But there you see that southeast breeze that's really going to be cranking. That southeast breeze, it rises up the mountain. So the more the air rises, the more the clouds can condense and grow taller and load up with all that moisture, and there's nowhere for it to go but down. That's why we see those high rain totals and a rare extreme risk of flash flooding heading into Thursday and Friday for North Georgia, areas like Greenville, South Carolina, and Asheville. That extreme risk of flooding is usually responsible for nearly 40% of flood fatalities, more than 80% of flood damages. So this could be a very damaging storm, again, in the mountains where Elizabeth was showing you guys that potential for more than 10 inches of rain. There have been a lot of questions, rightfully so, about Helene. We're breaking those down in an extensive Q&A on WRAL.com right now because, Elizabeth, it's not just rain that we're tracking with this storm.
And we could see as much as 1 to 3 inches in our viewing area. It'll be lesser totals the farther east you go, which, you know, as you said, is sort of counterintuitive. We usually think of these as coastal systems, but this is going to, you know, affect folks to our west. 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts across our area for Friday, and isolated tornadoes. That's something that we typically see with landfalling systems. The Bluegrass Festival, of course, outside on Friday. The rain is likely for the first half of the day into the early afternoon, but it looks like some drier air may work its way in later on Friday. So stay tuned for what they may do. Saturday looks drier, just a 20% chance for rain, and Sunday it's a 30% chance. We have a lot of festivals that are happening this weekend, so I know a lot of eyes will be on that weekend forecast.
Thank you, Elizabeth. The wife of a Chapel Hill native that Hamas is holding hostage says a ceasefire deal is the only way to bring him home. Aviva Siegel and her husband Keith were both kidnapped by Hamas on October 7th of last year. She was released later, and she wants the Israeli government to do more to secure her husband's release.
There's 101 hostages left in Gaza, and they need to come back. So that's what I want to hear. But I do know that the Hamas is responsible, taking Keith and I with our pajamas from our house and kidnapping us in a very brutal way.
Aviva Siegel was held hostage for more than 50 days before she was released during a temporary ceasefire. New this morning, Israel says it intercepted a rocket sent from Lebanon toward Tel Aviv. Sirens sounded near Israel's economic center for the first time since the October 7th Hamas attack last year. The Israeli military says a surface-to-surface missile came from Lebanon. Hezbollah has not commented. This comes days after Israeli strikes targeting the militant group killed more than 500 people in Lebanon. You may notice less produce at the grocery store if a potential strike actually happens. 45,000 dock workers are threatening to strike as they seek a new contract by October 1st. A strike could stall distributions at major American ports that supply fruits such as bananas. That could result in empty produce sections or extreme price hikes. Experts say a dock worker strike could cause an economic loss of roughly $7.5 billion. The union is demanding an 80% pay increase over the next 6 years. This year's Teacher of the Week is relatively new to the profession, but he brings an age-old commitment to education. WRAL's Ken Smith is in Johnston County to meet a teacher who is very popular with his students.